So thanks everyone again for joining. As mentioned, this is Jeff Denworth, SVP of Marketing of Cterra. If you happen to catch the news last week, then you saw that Cterra took the covers off of a brand new product announcement focused around an emerging trend that we see in the market where customers are more and more looking to move their application strategy towards a kind of quote-unquote all-in effort around cloud infrastructure. Today we're going to talk a lot about public clouds, but we're also going to talk about private clouds and a solution that's really designed to bridge those two styles of deployment and provide a more modern approach to protecting server data that runs in cloud infrastructure. So with that, let's get into the content today. So the first thing to understand is that all of this activity is by 2016 becomes quite prominent within the market. IT analyst Ovum identified that by next year, just around 75% of the enterprise and community will have some amount of a hybrid cloud implemented across their enterprise. Now that's not to say that 75% of the enterprises out there will have 50% of their workloads in the public cloud and 50% of the workloads in some sort of private cloud that they operate, but they are starting to very rapidly make the jump to embrace both styles of cloud deployment. On the public cloud side, they're adopting platforms such as Amazon, Microsoft Azure, IBM SoftLayer, and other platforms. And on the private cloud side, what we're finding is a modernization of infrastructure away from solutions such as VMware and towards more cloud-oriented computing frameworks such as OpenStack. And so the point is, by next year, this will become a very real situation across the enterprise. And really what this does is it challenges how people think about deploying traditional data protection and backup solutions. There's a number of different reasons for this. The first consideration is that at the compute layer, it's really important to understand that there isn't the same layer of access that has been historically exposed to backup software that gets provided to organizations as they think about moving, in particular, to the public cloud. And so if you've been watching the last 10 years of data protection innovation, once the community kind of got past the hurdle of deduplication, often what most organizations are spending their R&D dollars on were really enabling virtualized environments to be protected by protecting applications, usually at the image level. The challenge becomes as you move to solutions such as AWS or Azure, or even certain public cloud solutions that are backed by OpenStack or even VMware, what happens is that the hypervisor layer gets completely obscured from the customers. And the net result is that you can't implement the same style of image-based data protection that you had in the past for reasons that you don't have the same access at the infrastructure layer. So hypervisor-based backup becomes less and less of a viable prospect for organizations that want to deploy their applications in the cloud and don't just use the cloud as a backup target. Speaking of backup targets, the second issue is around deduplication and how these appliances are built. So if you size up the backup market today, analysts estimate that around $6 billion of money is being spent every year on backup software, but there's another $4 billion being spent on appliances that are designed to deduplicate data. The challenge is, as you think about the homogenization of infrastructure and really streamlining down how organizations can deploy applications in the cloud and at the same time get economic advantage, that comes from having a completely simple stack that's built on commodity servers. So the point here is that the operational efficiencies that organizations are getting from the cloud come from the fact that you can't just ship whatever type of hardware that you want into these environments. And so traditional deduplication appliances really can't be shipped to the cloud, and that means that you can't use them. You can't implement deduplication in the same way that you have historically been accustomed to. And then finally, as you think about traditional backup and how it's applied in the cloud context, there's a whole host of considerations that come from things that really drive cloud efficiencies. And I'm not talking at the hardware level. I'm actually talking at the administration level. So you have first and foremost concepts like multi-tenancy that allow a number of different secure organizations to coexist in a common infrastructure where there's either logical or physical isolation of data. You have automation where using very prescriptive tools and templates, organizations can completely automate the provisioning of services. And then you have APIs built for not only implementing cloud services but also leveraging cloud infrastructure. And very often, the market leaders in the space of data protection, they don't support these styles of APIs, and they weren't born in the cloud for next generation deployment. So there are options available to users today within the cloud marketplaces. We use, for example, here the various alternatives that customers have when you're considering deploying applications within EC2, enterprise applications. And there's a number of different approaches that these cloud services will take. Some will offer up a volume snapshot utility. And these can be quite difficult to manage. We hear this continually from the customers that we're talking to about this solution, where let's use in the case EBS volume snapshots. These are utilities where you basically take the volume that's associated with a specific server, and you implement a snapshot utility on top of that that's provided by, in this case, Amazon. Your data is then stored in S3, which is a low-cost object storage service offering. And it's quite popular with a number of different users, but it's not appropriate for all types of users. First consideration is that the snapshots are entirely driven by scripting utilities, and sometimes for enterprise organizations that are looking for simple tools for orchestration and management, it's a little bit too much work for them and can be complicated to manage. The second consideration is that there isn't a global deduplication method applied to this style of deployment, and the net result of that is that you're simply just paying more for storage capacity, or you're storing more capacity than potentially you had in the past when you were using deduplication appliances in your own data center. And then the third aspect is it's a service that's fairly locked to Amazon, and Microsoft Azure has their services. Other clouds provide their services, and what they don't feature very strong is the ability to recover and back up your data between clouds. And so then you have other options, like there are some image-based options that are designed for virtual machines that you just install an agent in the virtual machine. It's a standalone agent, and it knows how to back itself up to, let's say, in this case, Amazon S3. The challenge there is multifold. The first is that they weren't really designed for enterprise deployment, meaning hundreds or thousands of servers, so there's no orchestration, there's no automation tools with these types of products. Similarly, there's no global deduplication. You can't look at the data that's being stored across servers and provide a global dedupe algorithm across them. And then third is there's not an ability to, at the agent level, implement a WAN optimized backup potentially across clouds. So there's certainly a lot of limits there. And then there's some traditional tools that are starting to turn their direction to the cloud. These are backup utilities that were historically designed for tape-based backup, very enterprise-centric, but legacy architectures. And so as they start to move themselves to the cloud, it becomes quite difficult for them to make this transformation for reasons that they're not necessarily API-driven in terms of how they are designed for automation. Quite poor media server to client ratios when you implement deduplication, so it can be quite expensive to implement media servers, and in particular the solutions themselves are designed for quite expensive mode of data protection, where a lot of customers are just looking for simple tools that are deployed without dozens or hundreds of parameters, and they're looking to implement them in a cloud-native fashion. So, so this is the opportunity that we've identified. We've had a number of customers that have kind of walked with us along this journey to be announcing this offering today, and we'll talk a little bit about those in just a little bit. We call the solution our cloud server data protection offering, and it's part of the enterprise file services platform that we offer. And we've been spending a lot of time with enterprise analysts who have kind of identified that we've struck a nerve in the market where not a lot of organizations have really understood the options available to them, because there aren't a lot of options available to them when they make that jump to either an all-in in the cloud model, or potentially a hybrid cloud model where they want to back up and recover applications across a variety of different cloud topologies. And so, so where we're focused is really around complementing our customers' cloud application initiatives by bringing together cloud-based agility from an infrastructure and an operations perspective, as well as the economics that come along for the ride for that really enable organizations to continue to get the benefit of cloud, even though they've kind of rethought the data protection kind of strategy altogether. So what the solution is, it's a hybrid cloud backup as a service offering. It works with the enterprise file services platform to provide cloud agnostic protection for in-cloud applications, as well as to backup applications between clouds. So we can have an agent sitting in Amazon and back that up to OpenStack, or we could back up Azure to Amazon, or any number of combinations. And we can do that in a fully automated fashion, where Cytera has built a service delivery platform that's orchestrated via rich APIs and features a number of different tools that really make it simple for organizations to go out and deploy backup services to hundreds, if not thousands, of different virtual machines. And then we have strong support for object storage, not just one type of object storage, but a number of different varieties of object storage APIs, so that customers really have the choice of storing their backups in whatever infrastructure they're most comfortable with, and at the same time providing a layer that runs within a virtual private network or in a private data center, so that you get the ultimate in security by also being able to choose not only the storage that you're going to use as a backup target, but also the data center that you can use. So, so these are the kind of three main capabilities of the system. As mentioned, this all works in conjunction with the Cytera Enterprise File Services Platform. And just as a refresher for everybody, what this is it's a unified system that combines support for endpoints, offices, and applications that are running in the cloud to provide a common platform for file synchronization across these different access points, file sharing from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world, data protection tools, as well as file storage tools, so that you can really get a completely holistic enterprise experience with respect to how you're storing, sharing, and protecting your files. And of course, all of this works with our platform, where we have support for things such as global deduplication, data governance, and interoperability with various third-party DLP and e-discovery tools, source-based encryption, where customers own and are the exclusive generators of their encryption keys, with a solution that can be deployed entirely on your cloud storage of choice. And then from a service management perspective, we really believe in the IT as a service mantra here. And the solution is, of course, built to support a number of different tenants, or literally thousands of tenants running on a common infrastructure, where all of the services are deployed via policies, centrally monitored and managed, and integrated with a rich set of APIs, RESTful APIs that we deploy, so that you can completely automate the entire process of delivery. Okay, so back to our cloud server backup architecture. Just to give you some perspective on how it's all put together. What we have are cloud server backup agents. These are file level and application aware agents that are deployed in the virtual machines wherever you're deploying your cloud applications, either on premises or in the public cloud. These agents use a WAN optimized protocol to communicate with our middleware and our data management architecture that lives in the cloud. And that protocol uses things such as global deduplication and incremental forever architecture, so that once the first backup happens, then it's just the deltas that are being replayed. The data is then compressed and encrypted and sent over the wire using TLS encryption in addition to. So it's a very secure but also highly efficient backup agent architecture that allows you to back up either within a cloud or across clouds with a high degree of efficiency. Our backup as a service delivery platform, this is the enterprise file services platform that I referenced earlier. It's an entirely scale-out architecture where we can build multi-tenant scale-out, API-driven, cloud-native storage as a service delivery tools in the cloud of your choice. So all of this is deployed behind your firewall. All of this is deployed in your network. And through APIs, we can implement the solution into the service catalogs that you are running today. So either as an enterprise organization that may be building its own service catalog for internal IT as a service consumption, or we also have integration with hosting automation platforms that are used by public cloud service providers. We have integrations with all of these, so you can literally request, provision, and deploy backup as a service applications without having any human intervention. And as I mentioned earlier, you have your choice of storage targets. So these can be deployed in the same data centers as your portal servers or CTERA's delivery platform. And we have a very flexible level of choice for any on-premises or in-cloud object storage that you'd like to use to reduce your total cost of ownership. Okay, so our agent, as I mentioned, it's both file level as well as application aware. We have support today for Windows and Linux applications. It's an incremental forever backup architecture that once you do your first seed, and then it's just replaying the deltas. And it supports source-based encryption and deduplication. At the application level, we can do applications consistent backup and recovery at the file level for any variety of Microsoft applications today by invoking the BSS writer. So, for example, we have support for Hyper-V servers, Microsoft Exchange servers, SQL servers, SharePoint, Active Directory, and a number of other different Microsoft applications. And we can even do mailbox level backup and recovery of Exchange if that's something that you're interested in. As an aside, we will in the future have additional support for other applications. But the nice part about this is that unlike a volume backup utility, what a agent-based file-level backup utility enables you to do is to be much more granular in terms of the types of files that you would like to back up and the actual specific files. And when it comes time to do recovery, you don't have to do a full volume recovery. Simply, you can choose the files that you want recovered quickest and recover those instantaneously. So and not only more efficient in terms of what gets selected to be backed up, but also much quicker in terms of what gets backed up and restored. As mentioned, we have a network optimized protocol. Here, for example, we have an Amazon environment that's backing up to any choice of storage. Over the wire, using efficient deduplication, we can back up to 1 terabyte in under an hour using just a single gigabit direct connection, or we can federate a number of different connections between public clouds and private clouds using just secure TCP-based services. And so that's what we build our transport protocol on. It's an industry standard protocol using a configurable security cipher. And we can also do things such as deal with interrupted backups and recovery. So, for example, if your network goes down for a short a period of time, we can continue the backup operation once the network comes back online, as opposed to replay it, and that can also save customers a lot of time as well as money from a bandwidth perspective. So, a very secure, very efficient, and extremely resilient backup architecture that's implemented over the network. And that's where we really enable our cross-cloud backup capabilities. But orchestration is also critically important, and one of the interesting benefits that we're finding from our system is that as organizations think about aggregating the needs of a lot of different multiple tenants and users on a common, let's call it cloud orchestration platform, as they start to think about data protection, they want to apply a lot of those same principles of orchestration and shared, let's call it at least shared management to the topic of data protection. And so, so we have the ability with our solution to effectively create a number of different tenants. In this case, we're showcasing that a tenant can be maybe a city or an office that is operating within an enterprise. On the flip side, a tenant could just be an application owner. And using either a manual process or a fully automated process where a user connects via Active Directory, the solution can create a dedicated tenant per each application owner, or even per each virtual machine, and that tenant instantaneously creates an encryption realm around that backup job where the user is the exclusive owner of their passphrase. And so the point is that what this does is it immediately eliminates the possibility of an administrator recovering the wrong data to the wrong user, as well as provides a level of isolation from any sort of, let's say, security threat where maybe one of the offices or one of the users gets their keys taken. That doesn't immediately result in a number of different other offices or users being compromised, because they all have their own independent keys. And so, so the alternative in the traditional backup world is really to implement a number of different independent systems. And what we're providing here is the ability to aggregate the administration of thousands of tenants, if you really deploy this at scale, with one system that can be deployed to support all of them as well as their security requirements. On the topic of orchestration, we also bring some automation tools to the table that are quite unique in the data protection market. And so what we have is this concept called a data protection template. And this is one of the ways that we enable very scalable management of the solution. And so templates are created before users are assigned to them. And what we can do is we can create templates that assign specific processes to users or devices based upon criteria that the administrator will set. So for example, this could be the agent operating system environment, this could be the name of a machine, this could be an application running in a machine, or a particular region. And the templates can define the storage destination for the backups. It can define the backup window schedules that you want to implement. It can even implement throughput throttles. But most importantly, the template can be designed so that backup jobs are automatically assigned to virtual machines as they enter into the cloud environment. So, for example, if a user files up a SQL server using Active Directory, the CTerra platform can immediately assign a backup job to that SQL server and designate where the data should be backed up to based upon the user criteria, as well as when the backup should happen. So, so a really hands-free process that can even be driven entirely by APIs that links very tightly into Active Directory, so that organizations can kind of take the stress out of deploying data protection. And I mentioned APIs earlier. What we're finding is that a lot of our customers are now implementing the solution within their service catalogs. And so, of course, we provide a platform for orchestration and deployment of SaaS services. In this case, we're talking about backup as a service. We also have southbound APIs that talk to software-defined and cloud infrastructure. And using support for object storage, we can approach undeduplicated, penny a gigabyte per month. But once we add our deduplication, if you can get to, let's say, a 10-to-1 deduplication rate, you're talking about $1 per terabyte a month. That is the cost of storing this on either virtualized or dedicated infrastructure for data protection. And so what our customers are doing is they're implementing the solution into their service catalogs. And when a user goes in and requests a new application or requests a virtual machine, what you'll have is simply a checkbox option to protect your data via the service catalog. And if you say yes, I want to protect this data, instantaneously through invoking the APIs in the system, an account is requested, a tenant is provisioned in the case where you want to set this as a multi-tenant environment. The user creates their own encryption key, and then over time, as the system is used to scale up and support user services, the APIs can also be used for things like chargeback or at least showback within the enterprise environment where the IT organization wants to transfer the cost of ownership to the various business units. It can even be used for support. And on top of this, we have APIs for data governance, where as process and governance gets applied to the IT as a service delivery framework. Maybe that's this application absolutely needs to be protected to this data center at all times, or maybe it's we need to scan the data in our backups to make sure that we're all in compliance. CTERA supports the controls as well as the APIs for all of this. So, a rich integration into a average enterprise IT as a service delivery framework that comes not only from our automation tools, but also through our ability to support data governance, and all of that connects via APIs. And so, as mentioned earlier, we're embracing the notion of software-defined storage with solutions such as Amazon's S3 and Frequent Access. We're just using a public cloud example of cases where we can get to a terabyte per dollar or $1 per terabyte per month that can be used to store your backup files. But we have integrations with all of the leading object storage as well as object storage as a service offerings in the marketplace today, where we are completely eliminating the need for proprietary backup appliances such as Data Domain or Symantec systems. We're supporting hundreds of server agents per media server, so you have extremely good infrastructure efficiency. And our scale-out architecture means that you can deploy the solution to support any size of deployment, and obviously that's highly complementary to our use of object storage, which is inherently also very scalable. So we have the broadest support for software-defined and object storage in the marketplace today, and you as the customers, you and partners, you benefit from this by having ultimate choice on where you want to store your backups to, and obviously it's very secure as a result of that, but also optimizing the economics by being able to bring your own cloud. And so if we're looking to help you understand where CTERA fits in the marketplace today, we're bringing a lot of cloud capabilities to the topic of data protection, which is, I'd say, fairly unique relative to the traditional backup community. Global deduplication that's implemented at the source, rich APIs for provisioning, billing, metering, multi-tenancy, and a one-tier direct-to-object architecture that doesn't require any sort of cloud storage gateways or, let's say, other translation layers. That's really important. And the fact that you can deploy this on-premise in a public cloud or across clouds is also quite unique. What we don't have, and we're quite candid about this, is we don't have today support for virtualization level backups. So if you're looking for let's say VM level image-based backup and recovery, we don't offer this today. We do have customers that use our backup tools for VMware environments, but they're simply implementing a file-based backup at the guest level. As mentioned, we have support for Windows applications today. I would say the traditional backup market has support for more applications than we do at this point, but our roadmap is now moving very quick on this topic, and I would ask that you talk to us if you have a specific application that you need to be backed up. And then similarly, we don't have support for clustered applications or the ability to quiesce a number of different servers. So important considerations to keep in mind as you're trying to decide how you want to implement backup in a cloud world. One of the other kind of questions that we often get asked is, well, how does this compare to EBS snapshots? And I covered this a little bit earlier. Just as a reiteration, yes, we can do volume level snapshots just as Amazon can, but we can also implement a more granular file-based snapshot approach that uses source-based global deduplication to compare volumes across each other and only to store explicitly unique data into services like Amazon's S3IA or into OpenStack infrastructure or any number of proprietary object storage systems. And this has user-managed source-based encryption. So in the case of a lot of the public cloud services, you'll have a public cloud key generation engine. We provide something that you can implement entirely in your own VPC. And it's a single backup agent that also is capable of doing file sync and share. I would say less so important for server-based applications, although we do see some customers that want servers to have synchronized volumes between them, or at least synchronized files. More for our endpoint customers that are looking for backup and sync from a common endpoint solution. So that's the service in total. It's very efficient, granular server backup agents that are implemented with a incremental forever when optimized transfer to scale out infrastructure that's designed to support any choice of storage target deployed on any cloud that is entirely API driven and really meant for that transformation to IT as a service. And so just to talk a little bit about one of the customers that has chosen our product. Unfortunately, they're an anonymous customer today, but we can talk a little bit about what they are. They're a Fortune Global 50 banking company, and they have a major cloud operations initiative. And if you saw our press release, we talk a lot about cloud ops. And there were a number of different economic drivers that really compelled them to consider moving to cloud ops and being able to kind of with a high degree of flexibility deploy applications on to services like AWS or Azure or their own on-premises OpenStack environment was absolutely critical. And so these are key drivers that really superseded any sort of thinking on data protection. And they wanted to move to a mode where they were able to realize this step function increase in economic efficiency, both at the infrastructure level as well as the application level as well as the administration level by implementing a multi-tenant solution that allowed one kind of pane of management across a number of different cloud infrastructures, and they could pick and choose where they wanted to deploy their services based upon either their security needs or potentially, wherever it's most economically makes sense to deploy there. And so, so cloud ops efficiencies drove all the decisions. They have somewhere in the order of a few thousand servers. Today, mostly all backed up on legacy backup software. And they spent 2 years searching for and architecting a more modern solution, particularly to data protection. And so the solution actually has now been implemented, and it's entirely API driven, where they have kind of user gateway services and then they have administration services that work in conjunction with a self-service portal and service catalog. And what gets plugged into this is the CTERA platform that they call a backup as a service platform, or BAAS. And this is an entirely multi-tenant solution where each user gets provisioned their own application tenant for backup as a service, and they store the data in either the object storage on premises or they're storing it in the public clouds that they're operating on, depending upon where they're deploying applications to. Future versions of the architecture will involve cross-cloud data protection for an additional layer of resilience and risk mitigation. But today they're using Microsoft, they're using OpenStack, and they're using Amazon as their kind of cloud fabric. And if we look at the cumulative benefits that they've identified, the first is complete security. So the backups are secure tenants, and they can meet any compliance regulation with respect to data protection by saying the user is the only one that owns their encryption keys, and the policies that we've implemented can control our data sovereignty agenda. So the backups that involve some sort of personal information, they always are sent to the data center that they need to be in order to stay in compliance. From an administration perspective, they're expecting to reduce the number of backup administrators required to support the system by around 70%. That allows them to redirect those resources to other higher value functions within the organization. And then finally, from a data center savings perspective, whereas the cost of the backup software is just about the same as what they paid with their traditional vendor, at the infrastructure level, they're saving a tremendous amount because they're able to get to that penny per gigabyte per month metric as opposed to having to deal with enterprise backup appliances that today cost around $2 per gigabyte. So just a fundamentally different economic architecture that results from having a deduplication layer that is independent of an appliance and can be implemented entirely on object storage. So, so lots of different types of savings there, and just wanted to kind of refresh everyone on the fact that this is a type of solution that's being used at large between a lot of CTERA's public customers that we talk about, either service providers or enterprise customers, and being used beyond to a lot of customers that we can't talk about today. So, so maybe you're interested and want to talk about next steps. Well, a little bit of a formatting issue here, but today in our online demonstration environment, you can go and request a demo of the solution yourself. So we have user accounts that are available, and we can provision dedicated either admin accounts that are running on a public cloud environment, or even something in your own private cloud if you so desire. That allow you to get a feel for the CTERA data protection solution for your cloud ops agenda. Of course, if you need something for more than 60 days, just talk to us and we're happy to extend that. But the public cloud user demo is available right now on command, and you can go and just download some server agents without talking to any of our salespeople if you so desire. In addition to that, we have a number of different resources. So if you go to ctera.com, you'll find in the homepage banners some discussion around our cloud server data protection solution. If you go to the URL that I've listed above, you can go directly to a page that articulates the value proposition of the solution and provides a number of different resources for you to go and reference. First is we have a data protection solution sheet that you can use as a kind of a handy takeaway. We have a video demo that can walk you through how to back up your applications in the cloud. You can access information about our solution at the AWS Marketplace, and we're even giving away new t-shirts that kind of talk about the campaign. We also have stickers, and if you're at any of the Amazon summits over the next couple of quarters, then you're going to be able to pick them up from us in person. But if you want one now, just reach out to us, and if you want a sticker, we're happy to send you one your way. If you want a t-shirt, we may want to talk with you a little bit about your requirements, but the Back That AWS Up campaign will be going strong for the next couple of quarters at least. So so hope you appreciate that. And with that, so I'll say thanks.